President Barack Obama Biography Summary. Part 7. Historic trips and more shootings. The death of Associate Justice Antonin Scalia in early February provided Obama with the opportunity to replace one of the Supreme Court's staunchest judicial conservatives. In March, the president nominated the highly regarded moderate Merrick Garland, the chief judge of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit, as Scalia's replacement. But Senate Republicans had already vowed not to hold confirmation hearings for any new justice until after the 2016 presidential election, returning to an issue that he had first tackled early in his presidency. On February 23, 2016, Obama announced that the Department of Defense had submitted to Congress a new plan for closing the U.S. detention facility at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. He called the camp a stain on the U.S. record of upholding the rule of law and said that its continued operation was counterproductive to our fight against terrorists because they use it as propaganda in their efforts to recruit. Ongoing Republican opposition had frustrated attempts by Obama to have some of the detainees transferred to the United States. But throughout his presidency, he had overseen the transfer of detainees to countries such as Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Oman, Georgia, Senegal, Bosnia, Slovakia, and Uruguay, with more than 180 detainees having left Guantanamo under Obama's watch, while several dozen detainees remained. In March, Obama welcomed a state visit by Canada's youthful new Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, whose presence created the kind of excitement that had always seemed to attend the charismatic Obama. At the beginning of his own tenure in office, the amiability between Obama and Trudeau was a far cry from Obama's chilly relationship with Canada's former leader, conservative Stephen Harper. Obama made a trio of historic state visits himself in 2016. In mid-March, he became the first sitting U.S. president to visit Cuba in more than 80 years. And in May, the first sitting U.S. chief executive to visit Hiroshima, Japan, the site of the world's first nuclear strike, where the United States had dropped an atomic bomb toward the end of World War II. That resulted in the deaths of more than 100,000 people. In his speech at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park, Obama pointedly did not apologize for the bombing or call into question U.S. President Harry S. Truman's decision to use nuclear weapons. Instead, he sought to emphasize the importance of a future without nuclear weapons, in which Hiroshima and Nagasaki are known not as the dawn of atomic warfare, but as the start of our own moral awakening. Obama's solemn appearance in Hiroshima came at the end of a roughly week-long trip to Asia that had begun with a visit to another former wartime adversary of the United States, Vietnam. In Hanoi, Obama announced an end to the more than 50-year embargo on sales of U.S.-made weapons to Vietnam. The Obama administration's advocacy of civil rights took a variety of forms in 2016. In early May, Interior Secretary Sally Jewell and National Park Service Director Jonathan Jarvis met with local officials to discuss the creation of a national monument commemorating the gay rights movement at the Stonewall Inn, the historic Greenwich Village bar where police and gay rights activists had clashed in 1969. Later that month, U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch announced the Department of Justice's filing of suit in federal district court in support of the Transgender community too blocked the enforcement of a recently adopted North Carolina state law that required public agencies to limit the use of restrooms, locker rooms, and changing rooms to persons whose biological sex, as indicated on their birth certificates, corresponds to the sex for which the facility is intended. Gun violence continued to shake the country. In June, Obama and Vice President Biden traveled to Orlando, Florida, to meet with survivors and families of victims of the mass shooting earlier that month at the Pulse nightclub, the deadliest such event in modern U.S. history. 49 people were killed and 50 others were wounded in the attack by a lone gunman on the vibrant Center for Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer LGBTQ social life, less than a month later on July 7th. In downtown Dallas, as a peaceful protest against the shootings earlier in the week of African American men by police in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and suburban St. Paul, Minnesota, was winding to a close. A sniper who was upset by those shootings shot and killed four police officers, along with a rapid transit officer, and wounded several others. Speaking at a memorial for the slain officers, Obama said,
"Faced with this violence, we wonder if the divides of race in America can ever be bridged. We wonder if an African American community that feels unfairly targeted by police and police departments, that feel unfairly maligned for doing their jobs, can ever understand each other's experience. I'm here to say we must reject such despair. I'm here to insist that we are not as divided as we seem, because with an open heart, we can learn to stand in each other's shoes and look at the world through each other's eyes, so that maybe the police officer sees his own son in that teenager with a hoodie who's kind of goofing off, but not dangerous, and the teenager, maybe the teenager, will see in the police officer the same words and values and authority of his parents. We can decide to come together and make our country reflect the good inside us, the hopes and simple dreams we share."
At the end of July, as one of the keynote speakers at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, Obama eloquently praised Hillary Clinton, the party's nominee to replace him in the Oval Office, but arguably, the convention's most rousing speech had been delivered a few days earlier by the First Lady, Michelle Obama. The president campaigned actively in support of Clinton, whose Republican opponent, real estate developer and reality television star Donald Trump, had vowed to undo many of Obama's policy and legislative achievements, appending the predictions of polls and pundits. Trump won the election, capturing key battleground states such as Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin to triumph in the Electoral College, with 300 for electoral votes to 227 for Clinton, though she won the popular vote by more than 2.8 million votes. In closing his farewell address at Chicago's McCormick Place, on January 10, 2017, Obama said,
"I'm asking you to believe, not in my ability to bring about change, but in yours. I am asking you to hold fast to that faith written into our founding documents, that idea whispered by slaves and abolitionists, that spirit sung by immigrants and homesteaders and those who marched for justice, that creed reaffirmed by those who planted flags from foreign battlefields to the surface of the moon. A creed at the core of every American whose story is not yet written. Yes, we can."
Life after the presidency of Barack Obama. Having chosen to become the first president since Woodrow Wilson to remain in the Capitol after the end of his term, Obama purchased a 9-bedroom home in the Kalorama neighborhood, with the intention of staying for 2 years so that his younger daughter, Sasha, could complete high school in Washington. Although he indicated at his final press conference that he did not intend to be actively involved in politics, he outlined several developments that could reverse that decision, including systematic discrimination being ratified in some fashion, the creation of obstacles to voting, and efforts to silence the press or dissent. The former president and former First Lady received a joint $65 million advance from Penguin Random House's Crown Publishing Group for their respective memoirs. Obama also began undertaking high-paid speaking engagements, including addresses to Wall Street financial firms, which earned him as much as $400. Zero and outing as well criticism from some corners for his acceptance of extravagant fees. Supporters countered that those high fees contributed to making it possible for Obama to donate some $1 million to job training programs for low-income residents in the Chicago area. Jackson Park on Chicago's South Side was chosen by the Obama Foundation, founded in January 2014, as the location for the Obama Presidential Center. Intended as an economic engine for the South Side, nestled in Parkland, and dedicated to informing and inspiring future leaders, the center was designed to include a library, museum, athletic facility, and forum for public meetings. It also was planned to serve as the headquarters for the Obama Foundation and the My Brother's Keeper Alliance, the organization Obama founded in 2014 to provide opportunities for boys and young men of color. The former president also indicated his support for the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, an organization led by former Attorney General Eric Holder that was focused on executing a comprehensive redistricting strategy to counter what it saw as the abuses of Republican gerrymandering. Even as the Trump administration rolled out a succession of policy initiatives seemingly aimed at eradicating Obama's achievements in the realms of healthcare, climate change, immigration, and financial regulation, Obama for the most part honored the unwritten tradition of former presidents refraining from criticism of their successors' actions. On occasion, though, Obama did take issue with some of Trump's policies and the direction in which Trump was taking the country. Notably, Obama was critical of Trump's decisions to withdraw from the Paris Agreement on climate change and from the 2015 agreement with Iran on nuclear development, as well as Trump's order to terminate the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program. In 2020, Obama began to take a noticeably more active role in American political life. In particular, he was critical of Trump's handling of two crises that had shaken the country: the coronavirus pandemic that had taken more than 160,000 lives in the United States by August, and put the economy in a tailspin, along with the killing of George Floyd, an African American, by a Minneapolis policeman that sparked prolonged nationwide protests reflecting the festering indignation at the continuing epidemic of police brutality toward African Americans and systemic racism. In early June, Obama participated in an online town hall on police violence. In his speech, he emphasized both the important role played by protesters and the necessity of voting In July, Obama appeared in a video with Biden, the Democratic Party's presumptive 2020 presidential nominee, practicing social distancing emblematic of the effort. To stem the spread of the coronavirus, the two men discussed a range of issues, including the steps required to tame the pandemic and resuscitate the economy. And Obama expressed confidence in the character and leadership ability of Biden, who had tied his candidacy to his role in the Obama administration and his friendship with the popular former president. At the end of the month, Obama delivered a moving eulogy at the funeral of one of his heroes, Congressman and civil rights leader John Lewis. In August 2020, Biden became the Democrats' official nominee, and Obama made numerous campaign appearances on his behalf. Biden ultimately was declared the winner of the November election. Shortly thereafter, Obama released the memoir, A Promised Land 2020, the first of two proposed volumes. It centers on his early life through the events of May 2011. The documentary TV series Obama, In Pursuit of a More Perfect Union was released in 2021. President Obama's Cabinet. The table provides a list of cabinet members in the administration of Barack Obama. Cabinet of President Barack Obama. January 20th, 2009, January 20th, 2013, Term 1. January 20th, 2013, January 20th, 2017, Term 2. The post was vacant from the resignation of John Bryson in June 2012 until the swearing-in of Penny Pritzker in June 2013.